Hey, good morning, Taylor, and welcome to another installment of Coffee with Rick Sollars. Okay, hey Rick, how you doing today?
Good, Carl. How are you?
Hey, another morning in Taylor.
Absolutely.
News and views around the city of Taylor. Let's start with the announcement by Dan Reynolds, the interim fire chief, that response times due to the fire stations reopening are up drastically. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, Carl, the response times, improving the way that they have, it's no real surprise. I mean, when the city of Taylor decided to put stations, the outstations in place, it wasn't just because they had money to spend or that they wanted to put people in other buildings. They were strategically placed there so that, the north and south end of the town had adequate coverage. And so, we knew that by opening those outstations and having people staff there, it would provide a better service for the residents of this community. And it's sad that it's taken this long. I'm happy that the stations are open. I'm not crazy about the how they implemented it. People meeting at the center station, punching in, and being dispatched out to the outstations. That seems a little inefficient to me. But again, at the end of the day, I'm happy that the outstations are open. I'm happy that the responses are improving, and we need to continue to man those outstations.
The mayor was critical of a letter that John Delo had in the News Herald, and he wrote back to the News Herald, basically saying that it was the council that has dropped the ball on this issue the whole time, as this fire station thing gets volleyed back and forth between the mayor and the council. Now, what is your take on that type of thinking? Because obviously the mayor is saying that his plan with a non-bid, non-contractual firm like HealthLink should have been okayed by you a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, number one, an RFP was written and never released. I mean, clearly the administration recognized that an RFP process had to, they had to go through that process, or they would have never taken the time to do that. Secondly, asking council to approve a plan that has, potential litigation tied to it puts us in a very vulnerable position. Number one, there is no contract with HealthLink. There's no operating agreement. They tried to bring forward a lease agreement, in which in my opinion, was putting the cart before the horse. I mean, they were looking at the revenue as being the big motivation, but there's so many legal challenges that they didn't identify. This continues to be a finger pointing episode with this administration, and quite honestly, there is no plan. They shoot from the hip, and that's the way it's been from day one, and that's the way it's going to be apparently to the last day of his term.
Let's switch from fire to finance. Recently, we've seen a lot of things in the swirl on the internet. Taylor's bond ratings for Booty being down incrementally throughout this administration's term. We also saw a story out of Newsmax written by Stephen Moore, who's on the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal, being very critical of Taylor and grouping it together with another 19 cities in the United States that could follow Detroit into bankruptcy. A lot there that's negative.
Yeah.
What's your response?
The Mr. Moore's opinion, and it is just that, and it's an opinion, and although he is a writer for the Wall Street Journal, I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, landing Taylor on the same sheet as Pontiac and Detroit and Compton, California, I don't think Taylor's at that position. I think there's more to that story that Mr. Moore may have left out. However, with that being said, when you look at the downgrade of their the bond rating for the city of Taylor, there's no coincidence that where we're at. I mean, since this administration has taken office, the bond rating has continuously declined, and if you lay it all out in the timeline that I've seen, it clearly falls on the shoulders of this administration.
Which is very frustrating, I'm sure, to the city council.
Very frustrating. Very frustrating for everybody involved.
On a similar note, we had the director of budget and finance resign suddenly on Friday. This came after he had replaced a previous person in that position who was fired. A lot of key administrative changes in this administration, probably too many to count. Were you troubled by that?
I am. I was troubled by the termination of the director prior to this director. You know, you're in the middle of a deficit elimination plan with the state of Michigan. The one thing we need is stability. We don't need terminations and resignations. We need stability. We need a plan. We need to carry this thing through so that we do, in fact, eliminate the debt, follow the plan, and of course, we don't find ourselves in some questionable position with the state of Michigan. The current director resigned for, you know, what he has said is personal reasons. You know, there were no indications up to that point that he intended to resign. The best I knew, you know, that they were going, he intended to stay for the duration of this administration's term. Quite honestly, I thought he was doing an exceptional job. I hate to see him leave.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's a shame. And by the way, just as we're leaving this installment, who authored that deficit elimination plan?
Well, the original one was authored by the city council. I mean, you know, we went through and you know, I was very involved with making changes to, you know, what I thought was a more realistic approach to the deficit elimination. The administration then, of course, issued a, you know, multi-page document basically pleading with the state to, you know, to decline the deficit plan, which the state didn't. They accepted it. And then, of course, since then, there have been several amendments to it, and now, you know, the state has yet to come back, at least at this point, and say that they've accepted it. Right. And if they do, my guess is that it'll fall under heavy scrutiny. We will be monitored. You know, they will watch us under a microscope. You know, the state has to be concerned with all of the, you know, the inconsistencies in the city. You know, all the changeover has to be alarming, and quite honestly, we need to be in a better position with the state of Michigan. You know, our state revenue sharing, you know, is at stake here, and we simply can't afford to lose that.
Well, Rick, always a pleasure. Till the next installment of Coffee with Rick.
As always, thank you.